Hey learners, welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
This is where you give us your sources and, well, we dive deep into them. We pull out the key stuff, the insights you need.
Exactly. We try to make sense of it all for you, highlighting the main ideas, maybe some surprising bits so you really get a handle on the topic.
Think of us as information guides, helping you get informed fast.
That's the goal.
And today, we're tackling something pretty fundamental in English. It's about how we compare things. Our source material is basically a guide to using adjectives in specific ways when you want to say, something's bigger than something else, or maybe the fastest of all.
Right. It's focused on comparatives and superlatives, essentially. That's the grammar focus.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the rules, the examples, the patterns, and maybe the exceptions from this guide.
Yeah, give you a really clear picture of these comparison tools in English.
Okay, let's get into it. Comparing things. English has specific ways to do this. What does the source material really show us?
Well, the key thing it highlights is that the form changes depending on how many things you're comparing.
Okay.
And it points to two main tools, comparative and superlatives.
Right.
Comparatives, they're for comparing just two things.
Like my car is faster than your bike, that kind of thing.
Exactly that. And then superlatives, that's when something is the most or maybe the least within a whole group.
So if my car wasn't just faster than your bike, but it was the fastest car in the whole race.
Perfect example. That's the superlative. The source does mention that comparatives is sort of the main focus, but yeah, it covers superlatives too.
Got it. So how do we actually make these forms? What's the basic pattern the material shows?
For a lot of common adjectives, especially the shorter ones, the source points to a really simple rule. For the comparing two things, you just add to the end.
Ah, okay, like big becomes bigger.
Exactly. Big to bigger, fast to faster, smart to smarter.
And the guide mentions something else you usually need when you use that word, doesn't it?
It does, and it's crucial. When you're making that comparison between two specific things, you typically use the word than.
Right.
So the examples are like, my dog is bigger than your cat, or she runs faster than me.
He is smarter than his brother. Okay, I see that pattern.
Yeah, and it reinforces it with tall becoming taller than, small becoming smaller than. That than is like the bridge in the comparison.
Okay, plus than for comparing two things. Makes sense. What about that superlative for these regular ones? The most version.
For those, the source material shows us we add est.
Ah, S.
So biggest, fastest, smartest, and you'll usually see the right before it. The biggest dog, the fastest car.
Okay, that seems straightforward enough, but English being English, I bet it's not always that simple, right? What about adjectives that don't follow that nice est rule?
You guessed it. This is where it gets a bit trickier, and the material definitely flags these irregular forms. A classic example is good. You don't say gooder.
Right, definitely not gooder.
The comparative is better.
Okay, like this coffee is better than yesterday's.
Exactly. And then there's bad. The comparative isn't badder, it's worse.
That movie was worse than I expected.
Precisely. And the source makes it clear, these irregulars, good, better, bad, worse, fourth, thirst. They're special cases. You just have to learn them. They don't follow the add and ending pattern.
No simple rule there. And they're superlative forms, the best and worst.
You got it. The superlative for good is best. Like, this is the best explanation.
No, fully.
And for bad, it's worst. As in, that was the worst traffic jam ever.
Okay, so the guide basically says memorize these.
Yeah, it stresses that good, better, best, and bad, worse, worst are fixed pairs you just need to know.
All right, so we have the est pattern for short words and these irregular ones like good and bad. What happens with longer adjectives? Words like, say, interesting or beautiful. Interesting sounds wrong.
It does sound wrong, and the guide explains why. For many longer adjectives, often those with, two or more syllables, English uses a different approach. Instead of adding endings, you put the word more before the adjective to make the comparative.
More. So more interesting than.
Exactly. More interesting than, more beautiful than.
That feels much more natural, less clunky.
It flows better, doesn't it?
Yeah. And for the superlative, the most version of these longer words.
Well, following that same logic, the guide shows you use most before the adjective.
So most interesting, most beautiful.
Precisely. The most interesting book, the most beautiful painting.
Okay, let's maybe circle back to some of the actual sentences the source uses as examples. They kind of pull all these different rules together, don't they?
They do. They're good illustrations.
Yeah.
Let's see. The guide includes things like My house is bigger than yours.
Okay, standard plus then,
Right. Then this book is more interesting than that one.
showing them more structure for the longer word. Yep.
She's happier today than she was yesterday.
Ah, interesting. So that you changes to I before the error. The guide shows that example even if it doesn't spell out the spelling rule itself.
Exactly. It shows a common variation you'll see. Then, he swims faster than his friend.
Another clearer one.
Mm-hmm. This coffee is better than the one from yesterday?
Our irregular good becoming better.
Yep. And that test was worse than I expected.
And the irregular bad becoming worse.
Okay. And even the practice examples they included, things like, this phone is better than my old one, or he is smarter than me, my car's faster than yours, and this game's more fun than that one.
They all seem to reinforce those core ideas, with than or more with than, and those key irregulars, better and worse.
It's true. Once you see the patterns, they become quite predictable, actually. English seems to give you these main tools and then applies them pretty widely.
So stepping back a bit, why should you, our listener, care about all this? Why did we spend time deep diving into and more and then?
Well, I think connecting it to the bigger picture, really understanding comparatives and superlatives isn't just about, ticking a grammar box. It's actually fundamental to expressing yourself clearly and accurately in English. It lets you go beyond just saying something is to describing its relationship to other things.
Yeah, like you said, is the phone just good? Or is it better than the old one? Was the movie just bad? Or maybe the worst you've seen all year?
Exactly. It adds that layer of evaluation, of comparison. It's how we share opinions, make choices clearer, explain experiences.
It just adds so much nuance and specificity. You need it for really clear communication, whether you're talking or writing.
Absolutely. And it helps you understand what others mean, too, when they use these forms. You catch the subtle differences.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of our deep dive on comparison tools.
That sounds good. We looked at the source material to see how English uses comparatives. That's for comparing two things.
Mostly using plus than for short words or more plus than for longer ones.
Right, and remembering those key irregulars like better and worse.
And then there are superlatives for picking out the top or bottom of a group.
Typically using est or most, along with the irregulars best and worst.
And the takeaway is that really getting these structures helps you describe things much more effectively and understand English better.
Definitely enhances your communication.
It makes me think. The source focuses on the grammar, the structure, but just consider for a moment how often we actually use these comparisons every single day.
Oh, constantly.
Right. We're always sizing things up, ranking them. Is this coffee better? Is that route faster? Is this plan more effective? Is that price lower?
Bigger, smaller, faster, slower, better, worse, more important, less difficult.
They're not just grammar points, are they? They're like the basic building blocks of how we make choices, form judgments, and just talk about the world.
It's deeply ingrained in how we process everything around us.
Once you start listening for them, you'll probably notice them everywhere. They really shape how we frame our experiences.
A fundamental part of language, for sure.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into English comparisons.
Hope it was helpful.
If you found this valuable, we'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the Deep Dive.
Yeah, your support helps us continue making these deep dives for you and other learners.
Until next time, keep comparing, keep learning,